You're listening to The Stall and Stable Show. Ideas for happy horsekeeping.
Do you know how much water your horse drinks each day? Can you be sure they're getting enough? One of the primary causes of equine colic is an insufficiently hydrated digestive system. What if we could monitor exactly how much our horses drink and ensure they always have fresh water when they need it most? Well, apparently now we can. My guests today are Kelly and Dan Munro, the brilliant duo behind the Lighthoof Mud Control Grids. Kelly and Dan have a new solution to an age-old problem in horsekeeping: excessive time and stress around making sure horses have adequate water. Kelly and Dan and I discussed their new high-tech product, the Cascada Automatic Waterer, and how it's quite different than any other automatic watering system brought to market thus far. If your horses eat or sleep indoors, this is an episode you won't want to miss. So listen in. This is episode 127, brought to you by American Stalls. Today's Wednesday, October 11th, 2023, and I'm your host, Helena Harris. In addition to American Stalls, we are grateful for the support of Barn Pros, shipping their quality barn home kits nationwide. You can find them online at barnpros.com. Your horses deserve the best. That's why I partnered with and recommend investing in stable components and accessories from American Stalls. Their products are made from the highest quality materials, best practices in construction, and are designed to provide your horses with the safety, comfort, and well-being they deserve in their home. To find what's best for your horses, shop American Stalls online. You can find them at americanstalls.com. Always on the lookout for new solutions to old problems, I was delighted to learn that Kelly and Dan Munro, creators of Lighthoof Mud Management Panels, went back to the drawing board to develop their newest product for the equine marketplace, an automatic watering system that's, well, different. I'm not a fan of automatic waterers for a few reasons, but the biggest one seems to have been resolved with the Munros' super thoughtful design process. So let's find out what the Cascada Automatic Waterer is all about. Well, welcome, Kelly and Dan, to the Stall and Stable Show. I am so stoked to hear about what you guys have that's new, because Lighthoof is pretty much legendary right now in the industry. So what else have you been putting your genius brains to work on?
Well, for the past 5 years, we've been in research and development on a new project that we just launched this spring, and it is a brand new automatic water for horses.
Water, one of the major time-consuming tasks in any horse owner's or barn owner's life. Water to me is everything. You'd have to, you have to drag me kicking and screaming out of my barn. I can't leave the property until I've made sure that everybody has adequate, fresh water. So what was the motivation behind coming up with the product?
We wanted to create an automatic water that did more than anything that their offerings could do. And we wanted to create an automatic water that would work well for people that didn't like automatic waters for particular shortcomings, whether it was a hard to clean bucket or the inability to track your horse's water consumption. We wanted to basically take all those problems and create a solution to each of them.
And we know what those problems are, right? You got to go out there and you've got to fill buckets and you've got to scrub buckets, or you've got to walk a mile to get to the bucket. And if you do that, what's your water source out there?
And automatic waters in general solve so many of those problems. But, over the years, we found that as barn owners ourselves and as boarding facility owners, that people, both our boarders and staff members, had issue with some of the solutions that automatic waters were providing, particularly regarding the vessel. So, for example, you mentioned filling buckets and cleaning buckets. So many people like the form factor of the traditional 5-gallon bucket as a way to provide water to horses because it's familiar and comfortable for the horses to drink out of. And so we designed an automatic water that would utilize a regular 5-gallon bucket and simply fill it for you using contactless ultrasonic sensors.
Aha! So it's not it doesn't provide the water source and the vessel all in one. It's simply the source, the water source.
Exactly. And you can just hang your regular water bucket right on it.
Ooh, okay. Where do we put these things? Do we mount them on the wall? How do we get them into our barns?
So the Cascada mounts to a wall, and it functions both as a bucket hanger and a bucket filler. But the really cool thing about it is because it's using this contactless ultrasonic sensor to basically look at the water level in the bucket, it also is able to keep track of how much your horse is drinking, and it reports and analyzes that data for you in an app on your phone.
So that has always been my biggest issue with automatic waterers of any kind. Well, I like to eyeball what my horses have consumed water-wise.
Exactly.
Right? So we all need that. So your waterer assesses the water level, reports it back, and you can access that from your phone.
Yeah,
exactly.
It does a couple different things. So it is reporting the water level. So at any time, anywhere in the world, you can use your smartphone to check how much water is available for your horse. But it's also tracking how much they're consuming over time and providing health insights. So if, for example, if your horse is drinking significantly less than normal, it will push a notification to your phone and provide an alert.
Gosh, I love that. So no floats, no levers, no moving parts, which again are always the bane of our existence, because the more parts you have, the more opportunity there is for that stuff to break.
That's a great point. So a lot of these automatic waterer products require like constant recalibration. With our unique solution, it's factory calibrated, only needs to happen once, and then it's good for the rest of the time.
What are the actual units made of?
So they're called engineering grade impact resistant nylon. So the whole enclosure is designed to be very like swept and with gentle curves, no sharp points. It's not made of sharp sheet metal or anything like that. And then it has a stainless steel chew plate to prevent damage from cribbing or other horses that are curious.
And that want to eat everything in sight. What is this? Nom, nom, nom. So obviously it's going to be able to handle getting bumped by a tushy or tested with teeth. It can handle dust. And that's one of the things that happens a lot in barns is any kind of device that has to be connected to something else tends to get sidelined by accumulating dust or moisture and other things that can get in there. How does your waterer fight that?
Yeah, I totally understand what you're talking about. A lot of times barn owners will take like consumer grade electronics that are completely open and vented and things like that, intended to be applied inside the home where it's clean, and then put it in the barn and it only lasts for a couple of months, things like that.
Yeah.
But there's a whole different category of electronics. These are ruggedized, sealed electronic modules that you would find in something like the engine bay of your vehicle. So constantly being sprayed with water, in very high and low temperature environments, just ruggedized outdoor modules. So that's what we've designed our technology package to be enclosed. So it's 100% dust-proof, it's waterproof, and it's able to operate across any temperature range that you can throw at it.
So it's not an interior residential type of product that's simply been repurposed for a barn. This has been designed for industrial level type of use.
Yes, absolutely.
Okay. Because it's designed by horse owners, and of course we have vet bills to pay too, and we've experienced all the things horses can do. And the environment that things encounter in the barn, we took all that into consideration from the ground level when doing the industrial design on it, for everything from the form factor of the enclosure to where the electronics were located, so that it's really, designed for horses by horse people.
Which, right, I mean, you look at a barn or a farm and you're like, okay, that's a vet bill waiting to happen. That's a vet bill waiting to happen. That's, that's 30 days at the hospital. So when it does not take much. So I do appreciate the fact that you've got the sleekness that's designed into this product and the thoughtfulness that you have that went into it. How does it access the water source?
Yeah, so that would be the same way that you would install basically any automatic waterer. So our Cascada enclosure design has 3 different access points for bringing the water in. It has a port on the left or the right if you're running your water lines on the fronts of yours or on the inside of your stall, just on the surface of the wall. And then you can also access the valve through the back of the unit. So one thing we're seeing in higher end facilities where they want a really sleek, attractive look is they're able to run and insulate their water lines within the wall and then enter the Cascada unit through the back of it. So basically, you don't see any piping or electronics on the barn wall, and it just magically dispenses water into your bucket.
We need magic. I like that. We need magic in the barn. But it also, just any type of device, product, system in a barn kind of needs to be protected. Not only does it look nice, but it's protected. It's protecting the device, but it's also protecting the horses from getting to it and even the elements. Because even if something's designed for barn use or agricultural use, it just prolongs the life of it and presents fewer problems when you can keep it tucked inside those walls.
Right, exactly. So protecting those inbound lines is key. And because this is designed to be able to be retrofitted to an existing automatic water system or to be included in new construction, we have a lot of flexibility on how you access the unit with your water line so that everything can be properly shielded and protected or hidden or however you have it. If your water lines come up from the ground or if they come down from the ceiling, there's an option to configure that so it's really integrated.
So I like that you said it can be retrofitted to existing barns, automatic watering systems. What would that look like? So if I have a barn and I'm in Northern California and I want to add it's Cascada, is that how you say it?
Cascada, and it means waterfall.
Okay. So if I want to add Cascada to my barn, what would that look like? Would I call you first and order it? Do I have to hire a contractor to then install it? What does that process look like?
So we have all of our ordering up on our website right now. So you would just place your order online and they'll ship straight to you. It includes a bucket, or you can use one you already have. We have a lot of people who are doing contractor installs. So they're either hiring a handyman or a contractor to disconnect their existing automatic waters and run the line or change the lines. We have a simple brass fitting that adapts and screws into the valve. Or we have people doing it themselves. So in terms of actually putting the water up in your barn, it's just a matter of screwing it all to the wall. We include a low voltage cable that runs out to your existing power source. And then you simply attach the valve to the wall, screw the enclosure over it, and it's ready to go.
Now, if I can't do this myself or I don't have someone in my household who could do it, who would I call? Who would be the best person to call? A plumber or a contractor?
We find most people are calling a contractor. They also generally like to work with an electrician because it is a powered unit. We do include the power supply and the low voltage cable, but a lot of times people are asking an electrician to actually hook it up to their existing barn power. But a plumber can do the job too. In terms of the plumbing, it's very, very simple. So it's something that almost any plumber or contractor could easily do.
Okay. And I read on your website that the app does use Wi-Fi or relies on Wi-Fi. How does Wi-Fi come into the equation?
Yeah, so we wanted to set the product up with connectivity that people would already likely have in their facility for higher end facilities. So the answer was definitely Wi-Fi rather than provisioning things with cellular connections. So now you don't have to mess around with a data plan or anything like that to connect your device. So the way that you would connect your device is through the app itself. It has a guided connection process that allows you to connect with your phone to the device temporarily over Bluetooth. And then you give it a name like stall 3, and then you give it the Wi-Fi address that you want it to connect to and the password, and then you're off and running.
Very cool. Now, can I do that? How would it work if I had, say, 10 of these or 5 of these, a waterer for each stall, let's say in my barn?
Yeah, so you would repeat the same process for each device. Since each device is going to have a unique position in your barn that, we don't know beforehand You do need to go per each device and connect to it, tell it which network to connect to, and give it that name so you know where it is.
Okay. And then when I pull up the app, I can select which location or which device that I want to check on?
Yeah, so the
absolutely.
neat thing about the app is that it is designed to be horse-centric. So the first thing you would do when you download the app for the first time is you would create a horse profile for each of your horses. And then you can go and associate those devices with those horses. And a neat thing, too, is that, for example, let's say you have a horse with a water in their stall and they also have a water in their paddock. You can link those two devices to the horse so you're able to keep track of their hydration, whether they're inside or outside.
Okay. Now, my horses can come and go. They have stalls, but they have access to them. So they basically turn themselves in whenever they need shelter.
I love that.
They do too. And what I have found is that they prefer to drink outside, and they actually prefer to drink from larger vessels. While they will drink from hanging buckets, their favorite is, the big black troughs. Will this work with those?
Not from a hydration tracking perspective. So It is determining how to fill based on the level, basically the distance of the water level from the sensor. So that technologically, that aspect is fine. And we've had a lot of people ask, oh, well, I want to use a large trough. Can I use the large trough? Currently, we're recommending it for the hanging bucket solution for two reasons. One, then you get to take advantage of the accurate hydration tracking. And two, we've noticed, too, that horses prefer to drink out of a larger vessel rather than a small dish like a traditional automatic waterer might have. But we wanted it still to be the easiest to clean possible solution. And so we designed it with the 5-gallon bucket in mind because I think that's the largest amount where your horse can consume full drinks of water and really drink their fill before reaching the bottom, but also still be really easy to lift off and dump and clean. So it's getting scrubbed on a regular basis and it's easy for barn staff to do, especially at larger facilities where they're having to clean, 30 or 50 of these. And that's why we found the 5-gallon bucket to be kind of the best of both worlds. Easy to clean, but large enough for the horse to really drink their fill.
Yeah. And it doesn't impede the horse's ability to get their face in there. And, even when the water level goes way down because of the design of the water, it's
right.
It's curved and horse face friendly.
It is. It's very horse face friendly. And it has a couple of other smart features, like it has horse nose detection. So if the horse has their head in the bucket drinking, it knows that the horse is there and it's not going to start filling it and potentially spook them and, create a reason they might not hydrate as well as they would have liked to. So it's got that.
I have 2 thoroughbred mares who would think that was great fun if that happened.
Yeah, exactly. You don't want it to fill on their faces. and so the other neat feature it has too, so normally it would refill before the water level goes below 50%. So it's basically just always topping off your bucket for you. So you don't have to worry about your horse having to reach all the way in and drink from the bottom of the bucket. But if you want, you can use a feature in the app called Easy Lift Mode, and turning that on allows you to keep the buckets only half full. So they would refill from 25 to 50%. And the benefit of that is that on a cleaning day, then you can take it off without having to lift a full bucket of water and easily dump it and clean it.
I was just explaining that to my husband the other day. He's like, are you going to fill, should I top off this water bucket out here? And I said, nope, I don't want to have to scrub 60 gallons of water. So just let's let them drink it down for a while. So that's
exactly
very
you
smart.
Waste that water. You want it going inside the horse.
Yep.
So that's a feature that's pretty useful to have too. And the other thing that the sensor can do is it detects when the bucket is missing. So when you take your bucket off to clean, you don't have to worry about turning the water on and off. You just take it off. It knows the bucket's missing. It's not going to attempt to fill it. And then when you return the bucket after cleaning or whenever you'd like, it'll detect that the bucket's there and just fill it up automatically for you.
The other benefit there is, nobody's perfect. We've all forgotten to complete a task on the farm, like after cleaning a bucket, hanging it back up in that one stall. So you now have the ability to monitor whether or not there's a bucket present just with your phone. You can scan your whole farm and make sure that everyone has water.
And that's something that I'm sure you must have experienced this at some point. Otherwise, you wouldn't have developed this feature into the product. But you come in the next morning and there are a lot of empty buckets, and you're like, well, what happened, right? Everybody, the barn staff went and dumped the buckets, scrubbed them, hung it back up, and simply forgot to refill them.
And then the finger pointing starts.
Yeah, exactly. It wasn't me. Human error. We're humans. We make errors. Sometimes, goodness knows, I've, traipsed out to the barn at 3:00 in the morning because I forgot to latch something or close something. And so it happens. But this sounds to me like if those buckets are hung up empty, the device will know that they're empty and automatically fill them.
Absolutely. And for barn managers and owners, it's really easy to get visibility on that. You don't have to be walking down your barn aisles, checking up on what's been done. You can just open the app on your phone and scroll through them and see, this bucket's 80% full, this bucket's 90% full, and just know that all the horses have water in one quick glance.
Oh my gosh, I love that. I really do. It's such peace of mind. Because we have so many. It
truly is, yeah.
So many of us are wearing multiple hats, right? We're small business owners and we might have 5 horses or 20 horses or 40 horses. And we're doing, even if we have staff, we're still double checking. We're still providing oversight. We've got all these balls in the air and things we have to remember. So if there's even just one thing, but it's one critical thing, it's water. Probably the most important thing. That we can just pull up on our phone and go, yep, everybody's good. All right.
Yeah.
I can focus on other stuff. Is priceless.
Right. Exactly. And that was kind of our main goal is we wanted to have an automatic water solution because we wanted to be able to give people back both more time with their horses and or reduce, the burden on staff, but also be able to have that oversight and have it be really easy and on something that we're already using every day.
So I'm going to switch gears for a minute. Wait, no, before I do, oh gosh, I have 100 more questions for you. This is so exciting. I love problem solving products.
Yeah.
I do. And so technology has really opened up an entirely new world of horsekeeping for people. So winter weather, we don't have to worry about freezing. Tell me about how this handles really, really super cold, snowy, icy weather. Let's just say it's in a stall, but somebody like me has their stall doors open and the weather sometimes comes in. How does this handle freezing cold temperatures?
During development, we recognized that this would be a significant problem, and we basically split things into 2 categories. One, the device itself, the valve, and the dispensers inside of the product. That needed to be validated in our thermal chamber down to 0 degrees Fahrenheit. So this thing can get cold. It has strategically placed heaters that are precisely temperature controlled to bring things above freezing only when it gets down below a certain temperature. So the device itself operates to 0 degrees Fahrenheit without issue. We also have an insulation package that you can install around your valve or install around the T inside of the product to further robustify it. And then for the incoming water lines, it's the same as bursaries upon installation. So you'll need to protect those incoming lines from freezing, either with insulation strategies, putting in an insulated wall or a thermal tube, or putting some heat tape on there well away from horses.
And then that keeps it delivering fresh water to your bucket. And then you would just swap out your regular hanging water bucket with either a heated or insulated one.
Okay, so you've thought of pretty much everything, but
we tried to. We worked on this for a long time.
Pretty good. So here's where I'm going to switch gears a little bit. Tell me about the conversation, the origin of this, where you said, okay, we came up with this great solution for mud control, and now we're going to switch gears, and here's our next great invention. And what made you decide to go ahead and put something like this into production? Because it's one thing to have an idea, and it's one thing to have a successful product, but then to go for a second one and go through everything that you have to go through in order to get something like this into production, it's a big deal, as you know. What motivated you to climb the next mountain, so to speak?
Well, we're boarding facility owners. We have a 40-horse stable out here in the Pacific Northwest. So water was one of our biggest, mud, obviously, where we're at was our huge pain point. But after that, water really was our biggest pain point, both from a financial and a staffing perspective, because we spent so much time filling water buckets. We'd had probably half a dozen different automatic water solutions in place at one time or another, but those were creating maintenance issues. And because we're product designers by trade, me from a marketing perspective and Dan from an engineering perspective, we just couldn't help thinking about this problem and thinking that with all the technology that exists in the world today, there had to be a high-tech solution that could take care of this. That hadn't been done before, hadn't been tried. So we just brainstormed and we worked at it, and we came up with our very first prototype, and we installed it. And this was probably, more than 4 years ago, almost 5 years ago now. We installed that first prototype in one of our stalls. The very first prototype has been working perfectly in that stall ever since. And so we just iterated on that and designed, and we realized that we had something that was really going to be life-changing for people, both from the aspect of being able to have this problem of watering horses solved for people who love automatic waters and for people who hate automatic waters, kind of being able to check all those boxes. And then also we really feel like it has the ability to save a horse's life because of the hydration tracking, and it can detect, it sort of learns your horse's normal drinking behaviors and how much they drink on average, and it can detect a change in their drinking behavior and alert you before it becomes a colic.
My horses are trained to come into their stalls for feeding time. They're clicker trained to touch a target and come in to eat so that nobody fights. But I've also noticed over last 25, 30 years of keeping horses that they will tend to drink very soon after eating concentrates. So they have their grain meal or their pellets, whatever it is, and then they typically go right for, and also too, I tend to put free salt in their food. And so right after eating, they'll tend to drink. So I would almost retrain my horses. Like if you're out there and you're like, oh, my horses drink outside, I would almost retrain them to come in and drink out of buckets in their stalls after feeding so that you can monitor their water consumption. And here's why. After experiencing colic with my horse, I soak all of her food. And it's because I can't ever really put my finger on exactly how much water she's drinking. I want to know that she is well hydrated. This product would actually make me rethink my workflow when it comes to feeding and it comes to watering, simply so that I can monitor her water intake. And guess what? If I know that that's working for me, then it can save me 20 minutes a day because I don't have to soak her mash. Because I know it's guaranteed that she's getting the amount of water that she needs. Whereas I soak the mash simply because I want to make sure she gets extra water, that she's getting the hydration she needs. But if I can measure it, that can save me from having to get up 10, 15 minutes early and soak everything before I feed it. It's just a sidebar there.
Yeah. And if I can elaborate a little bit on the consumption tracking, there are a couple different scenarios that we've seen people use, and some are very conducive to getting accurate readings. So the one that we would recommend against is you have the Cascada and then other water sources side by side, and then they can choose one or the other. It's very hard to capture accurately how much they're drinking out of the total amount that they're drinking. So the scenarios that work well are if you have a Cascada installed in the stall and then any other water source out in a separate turnout area, the Cascada system learns your horse's behavior. For example, if they're drinking in the morning, then it'll be tracking in that morning period, and then that will be used for comparisons and alerts. So that can work well. We also have situations where the Cascada's in the stall, and then you have another out in run somewhere, and then those two are combined for a total hydration tracking solution.
It's just so thoughtful, and the depth of the features that you designed into this product is exactly what we need. Sometimes we're like, oh, here's a great new product, slap it on the wall, put it in the stall, you're good to go. But the product development process, where you really have to go through equine UX, right? Like, how is the horse going to use this? How is the human going to use it, from all the touch points of it? I have not found a product development team that seems to have thought things through as thoroughly as you guys have So I'm very excited about this. Like I said, I'm excited and I have still more questions, but we're running out of time. So what I'm going to do is tell our listeners how to get in touch with you and where they can find out more information about, say it for me again, Cascada?
Cascada, that's right.
Cascada.
It's a tricky one.
Waterer. Okay, so where they can find out more about it, and I know they can go to your website, but tell us where they can get all the information they might need to buy it.
Yeah, that all can be found on cascadaequine.com. And then they should keep their eyes peeled because we've got some partnerships in the works with some major brands. So they're going to be able to find us in other places soon as well.
Awesome. And I will be sure to put links up to the website with photos and videos, and they have frequently asked questions. It's just really well done. So go to stallandstable.com if you can't remember any of this, and you'll find hot links right over to their website. Well, Kelly and Dan, thank you so much for taking the time to dive into this with me. I really appreciate it.
Thank you.
Thank you so much for having us.
I'm a problem solver by nature, and having spent more than a few years in product design and marketing in the tech industry, I really appreciate the product development process that Kelly and Dan went through to develop Cascada. I will be checking it out in depth and hope you will too. If you have one already, please reach out to me and let me know how you like it. You can reach me via the contact page at stallandstable.com. If you liked this episode, I hope you'll share it with a friend, colleague, or on your social media. Stall and Stable is a small business with a small business marketing budget. The more you share our content, the easier it is for us to create more for you. Thank you again to our wonderful sponsors, American Stalls and Barn Pros, both companies offering the best in barns and homes for you and your horses. And that's going to be a wrap for this episode. I hope you enjoyed it.